Hello, if you've seen the many roadside banners for Alberto Contador along the route of what is his final Vuelta a España, you'll have noticed that they almost all read the same: thanks for everything. Now, everything in the context of Alberto Contador's career would have to include not just his 2-year ban for using clenbuterol, but also his continued insistence in the face of all evidence to the contrary that it was down to eating a steak from a steroid-fed cow. On the other hand, it would also cover not just the 2 Tours de France, 2 Giros and 3 Vueltas that he's won, but the way in which he won them, with a flair, a commitment to attacking and sheer enjoyment of riding his bike that can have even cynics cheering him up the climbs. And today, as if in tribute, although in fact the route was drawn up well before he announced his retirement, Stage 18 features 2 of the climbs over which he launched perhaps his greatest attack.
It was the Vuelta of 2012, just a few weeks after his ban had ended and he'd returned to racing. But it was Joaquim Rodriguez, perhaps the only rider of Contador's generation who could match him for panache, who was finally on course to win a Grand Tour. Coming out of the second rest day, Rodriguez was 4 stages from victory. Contador was the only man within half a minute of him, and thus the only one he needed to watch. Yet on a relatively innocuous day, featuring the small climbs of the Collado de Asalba and the Collado La Hoz, Contador somehow caught him napping, attacked, and by the time the race leader reacted, it was too late. On the finish line at the summit of Fuente Day, Contador had turned a deficit of 28 seconds on Rodriguez into a lead of 2 minutes 28. A demoralised Rodriguez slipped to 3rd behind Alejandro Valverde. A visibly emotional Contador took not just the first stage win since his return to racing, but the red jersey, which he held to Madrid for the 2nd of his 3 overall wins.
The day, of course, was a very special day for me. I think everybody remembers this day, and also with in the next year. And for me, yeah, it's important. I have the only big picture that I have in my home of cycling.
So expect Alberto Contador to be given absolutely no latitude on either Azalba or La Hoz, which are preceded today by one other small climb, the Carmona. The summit finish today is half the height of Fuente Day, up to the monastery of Santo Toribio at 510 metres.
Nico, today everyone's talking about 2012 Stage of Fuente Day. We go over some of the same climbs. What do you remember of that day in Contador's attack?
Well, it was fireworks. You know, that day it was took a long time for the break to go. He had a couple of riders ahead. Another group went on the climb, even though the break was already ahead, with more of his riders. And then coming into the next climb, Perito made the mistake to stop for a quick wee and was at the back of the bunch. And next thing, Alberto hit the bottom of that climb and went off, went to his riders and made an exceptional day and won the Vuelta. I was one of those who lost a bit of time with collateral damage. I was with the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th in GC, but unfortunately 10, 12, 13th were in front with Alberto from the morning breakaway, and I dropped from 8 to 12 because of Alberto's move, but it's a bike race.
¿Prepara algo de parecido a hoy?
No, la sorpresa, como bien dicho la palabra sorpresa, solo pasa una vez. Entonces hoy nadie le va a dejar hacer lo mismo que hizo en 2012, ya que fue algo que nadie esperaba. Lo que nadie espera se hace una vez, 2 veces es imposible.
Christian, I know that at the start of the Vuelta, the team talked a lot about not repeating the mistakes of Formigual. Today is a key day for that, isn't it? Because we all expect a Contador attack.
Well, he attacked a lot this year, and why not today again? But I think we've shown strength in the team, as a team, and we are prepared for it. So everything they want to throw at us today, we hopefully can face.
You've worked with a lot of great captains, but how special has this experience of sharing his last Vuelta been?
Well, it's amazing. Just if you look at the amount of people on the road and the amount of times that you hear his name, and seems like I've got a lot of new fans as well. A lot of people know my name just for being a teammate of Alberto, which is, you know, it's really, really special, and he's definitely a big champion. The way he races here right now is amazing, and yeah, it's quite nice to be part of it.
Well, the biggest cheers at the start were for Koen de Kort's team leader, as they are every morning. 161 riders signed on in Suances, and all of them survived it despite the efforts of the woman with the giant biro to behead them. Astana's Laurens de Vries provided the day's cycling safety demonstration to the youngsters in the crowd. And once Chris Froome's cycling bodyguard had cleared the way for him to sign on, the stage could start. When the day's break formed, it was a large one, 20 men in it, of whom the best placed overall was Sergio Padilla of Caja Rural, who started the day 24.5 minutes down. Two Movistar riders in there still looking for a stage win, JJ Rojas and Marc Soler, and four men who've already won stages, Alexei Lutsenko of Astana, Matej Mohoric of UAE, and the quick-step pair of Julien Alaphilippe and Matteo Trentin. As we join the race, Sky at the front of the main field have waved them a definitive goodbye.
Not far to go now until this pair, Alexis Goujar grimacing to hold the wheel of the man from Lotto Soudal, Sander Armé, go over the Collada de la Hoz. It's the penultimate climb of the day, and they have broken that breakaway apart, and at the moment it looks like they're breaking the will of that chase group. They got pretty close, Giovanni Visconti from Bahrain Merida and the rest, including Marc Soler, but then a little bit of acceleration and renewed motivation from these two who've worked well together. Looks like it might have just broken the elastic, and they will get clear over the top of that climb.
Yeah, it really has. You can see how that group has, and there's two quick-step riders there moving up the side, and they're about to launch an attack De La Cruz again. So that's two quick steps. So here we go. So it's all starting to move again from this. So Team Sky had slowed it down a bit, and now it's a quick step that are relaunching the fares.
Well, this peloton, the red jersey group, as David de la Cruz and Enric Mas move to the front, they are on the lower slopes of this 7-kilometre climb. And don't forget, as has been well documented, this was the launch pad for Alberto Contador to win the Vuelta in 2012. This was the very mountain, these slopes that he used. Now, everybody has been talking about that. It has been signalled, highlighted in red, and another attack from Astana. I think it's Pello Bilbao, no, it's Luis Leon Sanchez again, isn't it? Yeah. Going across to the quick-step riders. Actually, they're back in the fold now, the two quick-step riders. So Luis Leon Sanchez is at it again.
Chasing Aru. Yeah. So they must be planning something, I'm guessing, for Miguel Angel Lopez. It's the only thing I can think of, because once they come over the Collada de la Hoz, it's you got the descent, but then it's a steady, quite a long way to the finish still. So if you were to attack, you'd need teammates up the road to then work with to be able to help you.
Tailwind blowing them on there, and that's the situation back in the red jersey group. David de la Cruz attacking once again, taking with him from Cofidis, one of the riders. Entirely sure who that is, Luis Leon Sanchez. He didn't enjoy his last attack when Contador got on his wheel. He just shook his head and said, I can't do anymore. And Marc Soler has bridged across right at the front of the race now, back to the breakaway group, and he goes over the top of that climb from Movistar with Alexis Goujar, Sander Armé for company.
And Alaphilippe chasing behind.
He's done well.
So, but Soler, that's a great ride. He's obviously been sitting on that group behind, waiting until the last moment to really bridge across. El Contador's going, here we go.
So history is about to repeat itself, is it? They knew it was coming, it has come. Miguel Angel Lopez is on that move too. Mamakin tries to be part of it, and Team Sky will have to keep an eye on this. Everyone talked about this down at the start today, and Contador almost feels duty-bound to try and make this one stick again. Can he do it? Well, the circumstances are completely altered, but Astana might have a part to play in this, and there we go, he sent a rider on the road. We didn't see that attack, but Jarlinson Pantano has already been on the offensive, and Contador, he's been waiting for Contador to get on his wheel, and those two can, hopefully, they think, work together. But Team Sky have got so many numbers there, they can just peg this one back, I think.
And once again, it's Miguel Angel Lopez and Alberto Contador. This is the third time we've seen them do this, be in a counter-attack together. And they both come on. Contador came out better last time. For the time for that was Miguel Angel Lopez, but this is the perfect pairing because they are two of the strongest climbers in the race. So if they can just get that gap and break that elastic to Team Sky, it's Moscon as ever who's just trying to control it. And this is a good group now with De La Cruz, Luis Leon Sanchez, Contador. And then don't forget there's Aru further up the road as well.
One of the Bahrain Merida mountain domestiques is there. I think it might be either Ivan Garcia or Antonio Nibali himself, the brother of Vincenzo. So he's the Bahrain Merida rider in that group containing Luis Leon Sanchez, David de la Cruz and Miguel Angel Lopez. But they are, well, that group itself is breaking apart what remains of the group of favourites, and there's not many riders in the Chris Froome group.
Well, this is great for Contador as well. So look, Moscon is just not going to let that go. They've decided now they can't take any risks here, but that, you see this, how big that effort is. And obviously, when you've got Alberto Contador and Miguel Angel Lopez attacking off the front, then that is when a critical moment in the race. And you can see Team Sky are treating it as such. Moscon has got it all under control once again.
David de la Cruz now the next one with Alberto Contador just to push on. But it's come back together. Team Sky have brought this attack back. Just a bike length gap remains between the white jersey of Miguel Angel Lopez and that front of that Team Sky train. Contador refusing to let this lie and still asking the question of Team Sky, but a much more cogent, powerful looking response than we saw yesterday on those nasty slopes in the finish. That wasn't exceptional. That was pure Contador in 2012 when he took advantage of that little moment for Joaquim Rodriguez and just rode away. Won the Vuelta on that day, but he's back in the fold now, for now. The question is, can he recover and go again, as David de la Cruz is allowed. The pace just drops off because Contador has been pegged back, and they allow David de la Cruz to some extent just a little bit more freedom than they allowed Alberto Contador.
Now this is the front of the race, so Alaphilippe has made it back up there.
And it's Alexei Lutsenko. So Julien Alaphilippe and Alexei Lutsenko, both stage winners on this Vuelta a España. And Alexis Goujard, 2 years ago, a stage winner.
Alberto Contador's going again, so, and with Miguel Angel Lopez, like every time, and Nibali.
And
so
Nibali this time.
Chris Froome not even hesitating, not relying on his teammates, he's just going to deal with this one himself.
Right now, Nieve, Moscon pulls, now sitting on the wheel of Ilno Zakarin and Chris Froome as Contador. Look at that acceleration as he drives it on again. Miguel Angel Lopez right on his wheel. Nibali looking fresh, looking well positioned. All of them so alert to this move. But to go again, because that wasn't just a very brief acceleration and attack before. He had to sustain that effort for a good 5 minutes. And now he's recovered for another 5 minutes and he goes again. Team Sky looking pretty unshakable despite the best efforts of Alberto Contador thus far. But don't forget, there's an uphill finish. I'd hesitate to call it a summit finish, still to come on this stage. A 3.2 kilometre climb to the top. Order restored. Steven Kruijswijk has placed his tongue back into his mouth, repositioned himself, got himself a drink, and is ready for the next flurry of attacks. And Nieve is on the front now.
De la Cruz is going again, so he's going to try and attack the descent by the looks of it.
One domestique remaining for Vincenzo Nibali. And over the top they go. David de la Cruz, as you say, David, attacking the descent. Will that draw out Vincenzo Nibali? Michael Woods is right on the front now, and Contador looks like on the wheel of the man from Canada Drepac. That's the top of the climb. De la Cruz is on the attack again. He's got a couple of seconds advantage over the red jersey group. Lotto Soudal's Sander Armey leads Alexei Lutsenko and Julien Alaphilippe through 5 kilometres to go. They'll start climbing in just under 2 kilometres to the finish line. And Fabien Aru is about 1 minute and 30 seconds ahead of the group of leaders, containing his teammate in the white jersey, Miguel Angel Lopez. And David, no one really knows why at this point. Is it just one of those attacks he's committed to and he's just got to plough on?
Yeah, very much so. I think he was gone off hoping to draw other riders out, and they attempted behind with Alberto Contador and Miguel Angel Lopez, but the bottom line is Sky were too strong. They could just shut it down each time. Now here we're back at the front of the race. Ooh. And it's Sander's going again. Yeah,
he's looked extremely strong. It was Sander Armey and Sander Armey alone, I would suggest, who broke up this breakaway group. Originally 20 riders, then he was away with Goujard. The bigger group reached across to him. Goujard is now out of the frame, and repeatedly Armey has looked at times the strongest here, and it's him and him alone who's taken the responsibility of just whittling the group down. And it looks like Alaphilippe is going to recover and get back onto Alexei Lutsenko's wheel, but Lutsenko, of the pair of riders there, including Alaphilippe, looks the fresher, and now indeed Lutsenko moves to the front, and those two are going to work together now to keep Julien Alaphilippe away from making this junction, because neither of them would like to take, I don't think, Julien Alaphilippe to within sniffing distance of the line, because he's a fast finisher. Yeah, Lutsenko and Armey, it's in their interest to work together instantly here and try and avoid Alaphilippe making it back up to them, because Alaphilippe he's got a fantastic finishing sprint of him. He's
tactically he's very switched on, so he's definitely one of the riders they'll have earmarked that they have to lose. So now these two, they really just need to work together fluidly and get this going and distance him as much as possible before the climb.
Looks like they've done it, doesn't it? And Team Sky have everything locked down at the moment.
And they got one more rider since the top of the climb, David Lopez, who's on the front there, who managed to make it back on with some of those stragglers as the pace has slowed down. So now they really are completely under control, Team Sky.
Back to the front of the race now. Lutsenko already has a stage victory on the Vuelta in the bank. Don't forget Sander Armé, who's looked strong. It was about a week ago, was it, that Sander Armé was in a breakaway, and he impressed particularly with his climbing. But he hasn't managed to really contest a stage finish when it mattered, like Lutsenko has done.
Yeah, Sander Armé today, I mean, in this final phase of the race, he has been the most active and always the rider pushing it on and forcing these moves. So it's unsurprising that he's there. And I think it goes to show just how strong he is at the moment, because that has been more strength than tactics. And
the lone two leaders still have no company in the form of any of those riders trying to chase on. We've lost sight of that chase group and its constituent parts, but remember there were 18 riders plus these two originally in the breakaway group, and some very, very talented ones indeed, including Julien Alaphilippe, who's been dropped on a checking over his back, and so too does Lutsenko.
There's only 10 seconds behind these two riders, Alaphilippe, so they can't play around too much, these two, because if he gets up there, and that's why they keep looking behind, he is by far the fastest sprinter.
Looks like they've just dropped the pace a little bit, dangerously so potentially for Alaphilippe, and they have 1 kilometre climbing still to go. This man's just gone through 8k to go, so he's got about 3 or 4k before, or about 4 or 5k I should say, before the climbing starts in earnest. Lutsenko looks cool, doesn't he? Armé, a much taller, rangier figure than the powerfully built rider from Astana.
Oh, he's distancing himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing it, Sander Armé. This is what he's been doing the last 20, 30 kilometres. Just keeps riding away. You see Lutsenko there, the body language, he just knows he can't do it now. Visconti there just in the distance. So Sander Armé has just ridden him off his wheel.
Well, if that's the race-winning move, then this is a big moment in the career of Sander Armé. Much like his teammate Thomas Marcinski, he never normally would get an opportunity to ride to victory in a Grand Tour stage, but this is happening to Sander Armé today. 500 metres to go. I think he's won the race. Looks like Lutsenko was acknowledging defeat with that slumping of the head, but this is a huge moment for the 32-year-old Belgian rider from Leuven, in the heartland of Belgian cycling, but performing here on a mountaintop finish, or at least a hilltop finish in the Vuelta. Who'd have thought it? He's tried on a couple of occasions in the Vuelta to get in the right move and then deliver a victory. A rider who normally competes for King of the Mountains prizes, gets himself in breakaways, won the general classification, finished second in the general classification of 4 days of Dunkirk. That's the kind of race that he normally features in. He can climb, he can do everything, very versatile, but never in his wildest dreams, I don't think, would he imagine that on the 2017 Vuelta he would be riding to a famous victory. But that's the fact of the matter, and Lotto Soudal are going to score again. Normally you would have said Thomas de Gent would have been their man to ride to victory from a breakaway. De Gent has been a little bit undercooked on the Vuelta, so they've looked elsewhere. They looked to Thomas Marcinski, who has come up twice with the goods, but now in the form of Sander Armé, they're going to take stage win number 3, Lotto Soudal, and this time for Belgium, denying Spain once again a stage win on stage 18. It's going to go elsewhere. This time Lotto Soudal take the win, and this time Sander Armé finally can allow a broad smile to break over his features through the pain, through the grimace. He's done enough. He can zip up and celebrate and take a bow. That's a great win from Sander Armé, and thoroughly deserved, as he disposed of all the other 19 riders in the breakaway in some style. You suspected he knew how strong he was as well. He kind of had an inner confidence with the way he raced, as Alexei Lutsenko crosses in second place to add to his stage win. He'll be happy enough with that. Would have perhaps hoped for better, but it's another good ride from Lutsenko, the winner of stage 5. And Giovanni Visconti might have started the day getting in the breakaway to think about Vincenzo Nibali. Hasn't worked out that way. He'll take 3rd place on the stage, with Alexis Boujard coming round the corner and honing in on a 4th place for Boujard. Meanwhile, there's another battle developing further down the road, as Fabio Aru has about a minute, or maybe a minute 30 advantage over his teammate Miguel Angel Lopez and the rest of the race in the group of favourites, and they're not far off from the climb that Sander Armé has just won. So, two distinct races today, and separated. The only thing they have in common is the fact that they're both taking part on the Vuelta, but the ambitions and the rewards and the risks are totally different for Sander Armé and his other 19 breakaway companions. Their race is over. Armé has won that in style. And Fabio Aru is leading Chris Froome, Team Sky and all the rest of the leaders to the foot of this climb. About 100 metres to go before Fabio Aru hits the official start of the climb. He's still got an advantage over David Lopez. The red jersey of Chris Froome locked into his position and flanked by his domestiques. Then comes Franco Pellizotti looking after the green jersey of Bahrain Merida's leader Vincenzo Nibali. Astana, the only one of the big teams with GC ambitions, and Miguel Angel Lopez in their ranks to have fired a rider up the road, an attack that has stuck. Lots of riders have tried. De la Cruz, most notably Alberto Contador on a couple of occasions. Ilnur Zakarin, very, very early on in the stage, but they've all been brought back by Team Sky and others. Only Fabio Aru has been allowed to get up the road. And he's sticking at his task, even though his task may be slightly indeterminate. So just over 2 kilometres of climbing for Fabio Aru. He's got 1 minute and 20 seconds over the red jersey group. If he holds on to that advantage, he will move up from 9th place to 7th in the general classification, displacing both Wout Poels, largely irrelevantly, and a little bit more relevantly, Michael Woods, who is aiming to place himself as high as he can in the GC and will genuinely be looking at every position within that top 10, and it'll hurt the Canadian if he loses out to Aru.
There we go, the Contador's going again though.
Yeah, he is. Not giving up at all, has he? One teammate setting this up for him. I think it's Peter Stettner, the American, just pushing on with Contador on his wheel. Everyone's looking around. Here's Michael Woods, the rider we were just talking about from Canadel Drapac. And, well, Team Sky very alert. Moscon still there. Nieve recovering his position, having been just put into a bit of difficulty on the previous climb. Bahrain Merida still with one of the Nibali brothers in red, and Franco Pellizotti, the bodyguard for Nibali further back down the road.
Look at how strong Moscon was there. He was just riding up the side of the road, just kind of trying to show them, look, this isn't even hard for me. And so this is where it's so important for a rider like Alberto Contador to have a teammate that is strong enough to really put everybody in the red, then you attack off that.
That's the kilometre arch that Fabio Aru is nearing, and that acceleration there back in the red jersey group has knocked off 15-20 seconds from Aru's advantage, and what an irony it would be if he's almost caught before the finishing line after all of that solo attack. I think he knows now that maybe they're coming up the road towards him. Should finish clear of the peloton though, with still 55 seconds to go in a kilometre to race. Michael Woods, if he does want to hold off Fabio Aru, will be hoping that this effort by Team Sky and Gianni Moscon brings them right back to within 12 seconds of Aru. If that's the case, then that'll be neutralised, that attack from Fabio Aru for Michael Woods. Pretty small group though, isn't it?
That is. It's all the GC favourites again.
Lopez dropping off the back, which is a little surprising. So, any sense that he would be the one to attack and bridge across to Aru, you can forget about that. Kelderman and Zakarin, look at them, watching each other. The riders in 3rd and 4th position in the general classification. You can see just in front of the blue jersey of David de la Cruz. That's Zakarin with that very low position on the bike, and in front of him, Wilco Kelderman.
Oh, look at de la Cruz is just swinging just under his back brake just to make sure, when sometimes he gets so paranoid. But look, he's just hanging on for dear life, David de la Cruz, after all he's been ridden a very animated stage today, and I think he's paying for those now.
And only 35 seconds now to Fabio Aru, so it's better news for Michael Woods if they can close the gaps and he can sit on the wheels there. The Canadian, he'll hold on to his position in the general classification, but they need to knock off another 20 seconds on Aru.
Chris Froome himself now going, so he's taking the lead himself.
That is a statement from Chris Froome, of whom questions were asked yesterday big time by the way he raced and the way he was dropped by Nibali. This time he's doing the damage to Vincenzo Nibali, so he's turning tables on the Italian. You can see the green jersey just in about 7th or 8th position. A little gap opening up to that Contador-Froome group. Contador knows that Nibali is on the back foot, and Nibali now has lost contact with that group too. So there's a genuine chance now for Chris Froome to take back some of those losses. Still got 500 metres to go, and he's hurting Vincenzo Nibali.
Yeah, he's looking, he's trying to see where he is. Just can't. At this moment in the race, it's very hard to know what's going on behind you. But he's getting told on the radio, look, there's Vincenzo Nibali, head down, just trying to limit his losses now. Alberto Contador now working with Chris Froome. This this is a show of force once again by these two.
It is indeed. Contador, the third time he's been on the offensive. Huge attacks on the penultimate climb of the day from Alberto Contador. But look, he knows as well that this is an opportunity, and he is definitely working with Chris Froome. And Michael Woods, another excellent ride from him. Look, just 15 seconds now between the third group on the road, and that's Fabio Aru. So Michael Woods might be holding on to his position in the general classification. Good ride too from Kelderman and Zakharine, locked together. They're the next group on the road, and no sign yet of the green jersey. Only now do we just catch a glimpse of him. So there will be a lot of time taken back here by Chris Froome when he eventually goes over the line, and I think it'll be at least 10 seconds that he'll take back on Vincenzo Nibali. Contador is doing so much work to the advantage of Chris Froome here. Just beginning to drop. Is he the leader? No, they're still all together, those three. Still Aru hasn't got to the finishing line. So let's have a look now. He stops the clock. Oh, he starts it now, 9:56. Down on the original race winner, Sander Armé. And Contador is bringing Michael Woods. I don't think it's going to be quite enough. It's going to be very, very close whether Michael Woods will hang on to that general classification position that he's got. But Vincenzo Nibali is losing, what? Now it's around about 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10 seconds now. And continuing to tick over, and still we haven't got Nibali to the line. 15 seconds have elapsed, 17 seconds, and it's going to be the best part of 20 seconds. So let's get confirmation of that. 18 or 19 seconds, we understand, that Vincenzo Nibali has lost on this relatively innocuous climb, and that's almost half the advantage that he clawed back at some cost yesterday on Chris Froome. So Chris Froome extends his lead in the general classification, and the gap between first and second widens, perhaps significantly. Froome made his statement, he made it count, and Vincenzo Nibali will know all about that. It'll have bolstered this man's confidence, but it might have dented Nibali's going into the Angliru and tomorrow's testing stage 2.
We'll check the exact time gap from Froome to Nibali in a moment. They're on the second page of the stage results, behind Sander Armé, Alexei Lutsenko and the rest of the breakaway. And behind Fabio Aru, who was the only top 10 rider within 10 minutes of the winner. He was at 9:56. Alberto Contador, Chris Froome and Michael Woods, the man most threatened by Aru's attack, were 12 seconds further back. Vincenzo Nibali was at 10:29, losing 21 seconds to Froome, exactly half the time he spent so much effort to gain yesterday.
Fabio, una grande prova, più una prova di orgoglio o un tentativo di guadagnare posizioni?
Ma è una prova per dare un segnale che ci sono e che ho cercato di fare e di dare il massimo in questa vuelta, tappa dopo tappa. Oggi era la 18ª e ci ho provato, non è stato facile, ma segno che stavo bene e quindi via, sono contento.
Alberto, be honest with us, were you thinking about Fuente Day today, and was it a bit of a nostalgia trip?
Yeah, about Fuente Day, was in the first part was a little bit similar because we go all time attacks, and don't stop. And this, when you go for the coast of Santander, always is very hard. But in one moment, when go this group of 20 riders to the front, everything is more or less finished. No? Okay, el Collado de la Hoz is a second category climb, but it's not very, very hard. And from top is 30 kilometers to here, to the finish line. I know that for today, it's not the best option attack there for go alone, maybe, for example, with Fabio, because you need to spend a lot of energy, and with the 6 riders, the Sky can block to you, no? And then in this moment, you say, okay, I stay calm until the final, maybe put 2-3 seconds to other rivals, but I think the more important and the conclusion is that the legs go well.
Well, there were 3 Spaniards in the break today looking for a first home stage win, but in the end Sander Armé got a second for Lotto Soudal and Belgium.
Sander, we were a bit worried for you then coming into the finale with Lutsenko. We know he's good on those kind of finishes. Were you also a little bit concerned?
Yeah, he looked quite strong also before, but yeah, I also felt good, so I thought I have my chance, and he didn't drop me before, so I knew he could be better, but not so much better. So yeah, I kept believing in it, and then between kilometer 2 and 1 from the finish, I could save myself. We took it a bit more easy, and then we saw Visconti coming, and then I thought, okay, now it's the moment to just increase the speed till the finish line. And then the sports director said at 500 to go, he's cracking, so I give it an extra gear, and then he dropped, and I just got to the finish line as fast as I could, and then at 200-300 meters before the line I knew I would win, and then it was fantastic.
No mountain points for either Davide Villela or Miguel Angel Lopez today. Jose Joaquin Rojas moved into third place in the standings after his day in the break, and his fellow escapee Matteo Trentin picked up enough points to move back into second in the green jersey race behind Chris Froome. In the race overall, Froome now leads Nibali by a handy 1 minute 37. Wilco Kelderman still holds third spot on the podium by 12 seconds over Ilnur Zakarin. Alberto Contador stays fifth and Miguel Angel Lopez a more distant sixth. Michael Woods and Fabio Aru are tied on time, but Woods holds on to seventh on countback. David de la Cruz leaves the top 10 after one day, supplanted by Steven Kruijswijk. So Chris Froome's 15th day in the red jersey today, and after yesterday's uphill struggle, a considerably more comfortable one.
Chris, were you right in thinking that you felt better on the final climb than you did on the penultimate climb? It looked pretty hectic when all the attacks were going.
I felt quite within myself today. As I said, I think some people really pushed it yesterday, really pushed the boat out yesterday, and they probably paid for that a little bit today. And nice to increase my lead as well to Vincenzo Nibali by 21 seconds. That's quite significant, and I might need every second I can get once we hit Angliru on Saturday. So still got to keep doing everything right, and I mean I've got a lot of support and trust in the team. Obviously, I mean they've been amazing over the last 3 weeks, and they've always been there for me when I've had tough days and on better days like today. They were there to increase the pace at the bottom of the last climb.